Hi everybody. We've had another great morning listening to Robert Morris on A Blessed Life, and so I'm here before you to talk to you and remind us all about what he actually talked about. And inside of your life, in our life groups, is such an important part of the fabric of who we are as a church, and that sense of community and being connected together. So I want to congratulate every one of you being at your life group today, getting involved in it, and engaging in what goes on. So we're in number 2 of the series by Robert Morris called The Blessed Life, and he talked today about the test, and he reminded us at the very beginning and brought up the whole idea of we've all perhaps, well, he certainly has, but maybe some of us have as well, asked the question, what test? When we've been faced with that at school, gone along to school or a situation, and there's actually a test that particular day, and we have forgotten about it, didn't realize it was going to happen, and we're going, what test? So today he talks about what test, and he takes the whole thing from Malachi. He starts talking about Malachi, and brings the point out that the tithe is God's way of testing our heart. It's his way of testing our heart, of whereabouts we are at in our worship for him and our adoration of him and our walk with him. And what are we actually following after and doing those things that are those ordinances, those things that we are supposed to be, just as part of our Christian life doing. So he asks that question first of all, makes the statement not the question, makes a statement, the tithe is God's way of testing the heart. He goes on to talk about, and I bring the point up out of when he talks about ordinances. It's one of the Christian ordinances. And he means this by that. Tithing is an ordinary principle. An ordinance is simply an ordinary principle of Christian behavior. So tithing really needs to be just one of those ordinary principles of our Christian behavior. Something that we just should be doing. It's just part of what we are and part of who we are. And he brings out examples from Genesis, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy, and in Matthew and various things. And the third statement he talks about is this, that tithing results in blessings. And there's no two ways about it, that tithing it supernaturally unlocks blessings in our lives. It makes no sense how we could give 10% of what we have in our hands and actually end up with more. It just doesn't make sense. And the whole idea is that we don't tithe to get, but we tithe simply to honor God and what his promises. And he promises a whole lot of things. So you know what? It makes good sense for us to be people who are tithing. And I don't know about you, but I certainly want to live a life that is a blessed life, that is for sure. But how's this one? This fourth one he talks about is this. Not tithing forfeits my blessing to someone else. The reality is this, folks. When we tithe of our incomes, we're actually in turn blessing other people, because it takes money to do what the church does. And even though we are tithing to God and Jesus, we are tithing to him, and in doing so, he unlocks the blessing of his promises, or the promises that he is going to bless. He unlocks all those things, and he pours out those things on us. But we also have to remember this fact that, and I think it's a greater one, that actually in doing so, in tithing, we are actually blessing other people, because it enables the church to do what the church is supposed to do. After all, we are the arms and legs, the hands, the actual practical outworking of Christ on earth, and it allows us to be able to be the blessings we're supposed to be. It allows us to function as we do. It allows us to get on with the things that we do. It allows us to do things such as bless people in other nations and missions and sponsoring situations. So you know what? Tithing, if we don't tithe, it forfeits our opportunity to bless someone else. And then, he talks about Malachi. Talks about Malachi 3 when it says this, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse that there may be food in my house. And he says, test me in this. This is God speaking. Test him. It's the only place in the scriptures where God talks about that we can test him. So my encouragement to all of us actually, is to engage in what this simple thing is, this simple ordinance of God. laid down by God, not laid down by people, but laid down by God in scriptures for us to be able to be blessings to other people, to actually unleash and unlock the whole principle of God blessing. You know what, the fact is this, he brings it up in what he talks about. You know what, we can never not afford to tithe. You know what, because tithing doesn't make sense to our natural brain, and if we look at our finances, we would look at it and go, actually, you know, I really can't afford to tithe. But the reality is this, and the greater reality is what I'm about to say. Actually, we cannot not afford not to tithe, because God then unlocks true blessing on our lives. So tonight or daytime, whatever you're doing when your life group is meeting together, have a great time together. God bless you and have a great time. See you soon. Bye-bye.